Hello, and thank you for joining us for this episode of the Inside ODOT podcast. I'm Aaron Kelber from ODOT Communications and your host for today's episode. For this episode, I'm joined by a special guest co-host.
My name is Aaron Kelber. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me. We're recording this episode on Take Your Child to Work Day, and Aaron helped me interview some of my ODOT colleagues. Actually, he pretty much did it all by himself. In this episode, you'll hear those interviews as well as interviews with resident engineer for construction, Carolyn Heniges, and Vivian Payne, who leads the maintenance service section of the Maintenance and Operations branch and has worked with ODOT for more than 40 years. Welcome, and let's get started.
All through grade school, junior high, and high school, I was really good at math. A lot of people said I should be a math teacher, but my uncle kept telling me I should be an engineer, that we needed females in the engineering field, and it was a great career to have. I applied at a few places and really had no problem getting a job with Oregon Department of Transportation. I was almost always the only female in the project meetings, and it has definitely changed. I sit in team meetings and it's half or more females. One of my kind of missions in life is always to lift up and bring forward our females and make sure we're supporting them and respecting them. Right now I'm actually working on the Abernathy Bridge project. So this bridge will withstand a much larger earthquake. I cannot drive through any of the projects I've had an influence on without saying this is my project and tell my grandkids that really just providing a safe system for people to travel on. That's really what Grandma does for a living. So.
Take Your Child to Work Day is an annual event that promotes career awareness, exploration for youth of all ages, and learning about connections to state government. Across the state, ODOT teams hosted activities to share information about the varied services we provide to the people of Oregon. My son Aaron joined me for this year's activities, and he got some interview experience along the way. What did you get to see, Aaron, and what was it like?
I got to meet people who worked at a construction area and people who worked with the traffic lights, and it was really cool to see those people and learn about their job and meet them.
One of the things that you asked them all was what their favorite thing was about working at ODOT. What was a common thing that people mentioned?
The people that they work with. They really like the people that they work with because they're supportive and they're always thinking about the safety of their people in Oregon.
Let's hear what everyone had to say to Aaron when he talked to them.
What's your name and what do you do at ODOT?
So my name is Rod Stevens, and I'm the ODOT videographer.
Cool.
I also fly a drone for ODOT and take still pictures.
That's cool. What's your favorite thing about working at ODOT?
You know, I think the best job at ODOT. I get to travel the state and take scenic pictures. I get to interview our crews. I get to see what everybody does, and I never run out of subjects to cover.
What's your name and what do you do at ODOT?
David McLemore, and I work for Salem Maintenance Landscaping Division.
What's your favorite thing about working at ODOT?
The people.
Good answer. Thank you. What's your name and what do you do at ODOT?
My name is Kevin Beckstrom, and I'm in our Strategic Communications office.
What's your favorite thing about working at ODOT?
My favorite thing about working for ODOT is we get to help people. I mean, everything we do makes life easier for somebody, whether it's avoiding a crash or a delay, or if it's helping them get someplace that they want to go easier.
What's your name and what do you do at ODOT?
I'm Billy Kelso, and I'm the Region 2 Electrical Manager. Our crews maintain all the traffic signals, street lights, roadway flashers, and we even work on buildings like we're standing right here. And the buildings are important also because the maintenance crews, especially during storms, they work at night and during power outages, and our crews help make sure the backup power systems like generators are running.
Cool. What's your favorite thing about working at ODOT?
My favorite thing about working with ODOT is the people that work here genuinely want to do good work and make the roads safer for all its users.
What is your name and what do you do at ODOT?
Hello, my name is Kayla Brinley. I am an executive assistant in the ODOT Director's Office, and I currently assist 2 people, the director, Chris Strickler, and one of our assistant directors, Lindsay Baker.
What's your favorite thing about working at ODOT?
Oh, that's a great question. My favorite thing about working at ODOT is the people I work with. Wonderful people, including your mom. And within the director's office and the whole agency, I get to connect with a lot of different people in my position, and they really make the days better and brighter and easier.
What's your name and what do you do at ODOT?
My name is Patrick Berger, and I do IR, incident response, for ODOT.
Nice. What's your favorite thing about working at ODOT?
I think, honestly, helping the public and being out there and making sure the traveling public can get down the roadway.
Thank you. What is your name and what do you do at ODOT?
As you said, my name is Aaron Kelber, and I'm your mom. But that's not what I do at ODOT. At ODOT, I am currently the Strategic Planning and Initiatives Manager, so I track a whole bunch of projects related to governor initiatives that she wants all agencies to take care of.
Good answer, good answer. What's your favorite thing about working at ODOT?
My favorite thing about working at ODOT is having the opportunity to connect people, help people communicate their stories, communicate about their projects, help fix processes so things work better, so that all of the awesome people who work here can give even better service to the people of Oregon.
What's your name and what do you do at ODOT?
My name is Morgan Pyle, and I am the Director's Office Business Office Assistant.
Okay. And what's your favorite thing about working at ODOT?
Oh man, probably the people. People are great. State work is fun, and seeing the projects actually come to life and being a part of an organization that you get to see the ideas go from paper to reality. That's super fascinating to me.
Good answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Liz McIntire talked with Vivian Payne about her more than 40 years of experience working with ODOT.
Hi, my name is Liz McIntire, and today I'm with Vivian Payne. Vivian was the first woman in the Region 3 Area Maintenance Manager role and currently leads the Maintenance Services section in the Maintenance and Operations branch. She has over 40 years of experience working for ODOT with plans for retirement in her near future. Vivian, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
So you started your career in 1983 as a conservation/park aide when Oregon State Parks was still part of ODOT. What was it like to work for parks at that time?
I really enjoyed it. There was one near my house, Stewart State Park. I got on for the summer and I had a really good time. And I know it sounds odd because as a conservation aide, you're doing kind of the most manual work there is. So there was a lot of grounds maintenance and bathroom cleaning, but I had a great crew that I worked with. And really what I enjoyed about it was feeling that I was contributing, and I know it sounds corny, but serving the public, right? They want to be there. They're coming to the park. They're spending their time, their money to be there with their families and friends. And I was part of making that an enjoyable experience.
So how did your experience with parks transition into a career with ODOT?
One of the things that you had to do was pick up the garbage. And they had a garbage truck that they had gotten from the highway division that required a commercial driver's license. At that time, it was a chauffeur's license. So I got my chauffeur's license so that I could drive the truck around to pick up garbage. And because this was a seasonal position, I was looking for something else to do in the winter time. The other thing that was nearby was the Prospect Maintenance Station. And so I eventually got on in the winter time with them. So that's how that transitioned over to working for Highway Division.
Can you tell me a little bit more about how that background, because now you're in a lead role, you're in a manager role. What was that kind of like, starting with parks and then transitioning into a little bit of ODOT? Tell me a little bit more about your experience.
Well, while I was at parks, I did a number of things. I did a rotational as an assistant park manager. So that allowed me to do a little bit more than just campsite reservations, some of the fireside programs, as well as the grounds and building maintenance. There was a lot of interaction, but then the assistant park manager job kind of exposed me more to some of the work planning and some of the projects that they plan during the winter time to do maintenance when the campsite isn't open or they aren't all open, they aren't busy. So I started on winter maintenance, and I really appreciate the three different gentlemen who taught me how to drive an ODOT snowplow. Had a different training personality, but they were each invaluable in showing me the ropes and making sure that when I finally did go out on my own, I at least had a little bit of knowledge about what not to do, especially as well as what to do. So I think the combination of just being exposed to maintenance work in general, whether you're repairing irrigation or, working on a building, the fact that you're able to take not just your ability, but your willingness to learn new things. But it really was the commercial driver's license that got me over into the highway division and working on the maintenance crew.
So you talked a little bit about some of the leadership that you've had in the past, and you mentioned those a few managers that kind of helped you learn things and step into those roles. What was it like being the first woman in that role, the maintenance manager role?
Well, I wasn't the first woman supervisor. The position I eventually got was the first one in Region 3. But it was, I think, more than being a woman, it was the amount of experience I had. When I was hired as a manager, I only had a few years of experience on the maintenance crew. And so I think it was more my credibility with the crews that I became manager of. The one crew I came off of, and so that's always a difficult thing to promote up through your crew. And then the other crew that I managed was a larger crew, an urban crew. It was the Central Point crew. And so moving over to there, I was really fortunate to have an assistant who was super supportive, and he was an excellent maintenance person. And had he not been there to support me and help me really get a handle on the work and the section, I'm sure I would not have been very successful. So when you talk about not just leadership, but people being supportive in the organization at all levels, to me, that's always stuck with me, that where I can support people the way I've been supported, that's really when I feel I've done something that's noteworthy, is helping other people, because I really have been helped a lot. I've had managers who believed in me when I was on the maintenance crew. My supervisor was retiring and he said, "Are you going to apply for my job?" And I said, "Well, I don't think I'm qualified." And he said, "Sure you are." It was that encouragement. And then the encouragement, once I did get that manager position, the people around me on the crew.
One of the things that I hear a lot, especially at those crew levels, but even in other parts of the agency, is feeling like it's your family, feeling like you're responsible for the people that you work with. Do you feel similarly?
We spend a lot of time waking hours, right? How many of us spend 8 waking hours with our family, or 10 if you're on a maintenance crew? Sometimes it's 10 or 12 or more if you're in a storm or some other emergency situation. And so you have to build this network of trust, and you have to be able to understand the other person in a way that everybody can work together. We all come into our workplace from different perspectives and backgrounds, and yet we're all here for a common purpose. We all have a role to play, and it doesn't matter if you're in the truck or you're a designer or you're a planner or you're doing something else. We all have a role to make ODOT function and to be a strong, healthy organization. And so whether you call it family or community or, your team, whatever that is, it's real in ODOT. There are a lot of great people out there, and that for me has made my time with ODOT worthwhile. It's coupled with a sense of purpose that what we do as an agency is important to our communities. We serve a really important function, but it's also the fact that there are so many people who care deeply about what they do, and they all come together and we're able to accomplish our mission.
Exactly. That's very much what I've heard other people say. So, what advice would you give women who are interested in working in transportation?
Don't be afraid to try something different, whether it's maintenance or engineering or whatever that is. Just be open to new challenges. It hasn't always been easy. I mean, I've had all kinds of experiences, positive and negative. I think what you have to remember, don't take things personally. You know, we aren't in control of other people's worldviews or whatever is going on in their life in the moment. And so be open to new challenges and opportunities, and just, again, be willing to do something that maybe you didn't think you were going to do. Most of the positions that I've gotten have been very opportunistic, and it just opened the door to all of these other things. And that is one of the good things about ODOT is there are so many career fields within the agency, and you don't always have to go up. You can go across and try different things. I know that doesn't sound like the typical advice, but I would just say, don't be afraid to try new things, work hard, don't take things personally, and if you can, find an ally.
I think that's great advice. And especially, as you were just talking about all the partnerships and relationships that you build over time, those are vital. What would you say, looking back through your time at ODOT, that you're most proud of?
Okay, people have asked me this before, and I know a lot of people will say a specific project or, a position or some award, but I'm going to give you two things. In general, is typically when the people I work with really excel or accomplish something, if there's been some adversity or a really tough situation or a tough project, and I can give you a project that I did as a project leader that I'm proud of. It was one of my first ones. It was an OTIA project. But one of the things I feel really good about was early in my career, we talked about my first job as a manager, the Central Point and Prospect TMM job. It's kind of a long backstory. The last extra gang in the state was in District 8. And as I was coming on in that position, they had also hired another manager. And, there were some retirements of some long-term supervisors. At the same time, the decision was made to no longer have that extra gang. And of course, it was a really bad decision for the people on that crew. Right? They had been together a long time and they were good at what they did. And so, that was not a popular decision for them, but they did get the choice to go to whatever crew they wanted to. They were dispersed amongst the regular maintenance crews. And they all decided to go to one crew just because of some thought that management would see what a bad decision that was, because they really needed that extra gang, and then they could all be back together doing that. Well, that didn't really happen. And so those people were on this crew. Well, none of them chose my crew, which is neither here nor there. But the one thing that really encouraged me was a few years later, this gentleman off the extra gang, his name was Lyle, and I had worked with him when I was on the maintenance crew when we were doing paving jobs. And he'd show me how to rake, or he'd kind of tell me how to back and keep my eye on the dump man and different things like that. And he was always very kind and patient. And he came to me one day, I happened to see him at the mall. And he said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that I was wrong." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he recounted the whole story about, well, when the extra gang was dispersed and we all decided to go over to Ashland and nobody came to your crew, it was because we thought we were all going to be back together and you were just a new manager and you didn't know what you were doing. And he said, "You know what? I was wrong about you. You've turned out to be a good manager, and I just want you to know that. And I thought, wow, he never ever had to tell me that. He didn't owe me anything, but just his transparency, his genuineness, and his humanity to let me know that he had made what he thought was an error in judgment. And he thought enough about me to tell me. So I kind of carry that with me, in the way that I want to treat other people. If I make a mistake, I guess that's another piece of advice. If you make a mistake, own it and try to make it right with that person. So that really made me feel good.
It's such a lovely interaction. You're right. He didn't have to do that. And it's nice that he thought to do that. So my last question for you today is, do you have any parting thoughts that you would like to share?
I would just say ODOT has a long history, and it's really been one of overcoming challenges. And I know right now we're in this really uncomfortable place with our budget and working really hard with the legislature to put together funding packages. And I think it would be easy for people to be nervous about that. People need to stay positive, to be resilient, to be adaptive, but also to understand that we're all going through something. It may not be the same thing. And so to be gracious to one another and to be kind. And then as an agency, we say one ODOT, and I think a lot of us mean it, but I don't know that we really understand how we can practice that better and understand that everything we do is all connected. But that's really what our work is. We're all affected by what other people do. And so from my maintenance seat, we're kind of at the end of the line, right? All of this stuff feels like it happens to us. We're given new features or more responsibility, and we don't have resources to get it done. We don't like to say no, but at the same time, we still have a lot of stuff we have to take care of. And it's like that with, look at DMV. They have a hard time getting people to staff, but they still have customers they have to serve. We have to figure out a way to leverage other resources. But my parting thought is things might get tough, but we have so many creative, bright, dedicated people that if we just try to look for the good, we're more than likely to find the good. Let's not focus on the negative. I'm not saying to be Pollyanna, but we all do need to be realists. But, let's try to find our opportunities and don't be afraid to share with someone. Share your ideas, but also just share part of yourself to come along someone else, and they just might need an ear for someone to listen to them.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for your time and for being on the podcast today. It's been great talking with you.
Oh, Liz, thank you for having me.
You have been listening to the Oregon Department of Transportation's Inside ODOT podcast. If you would like to learn more about these topics or read this month's news stories, you can find links on our show notes page. If you have story suggestions or any feedback for us, hit us up at the Inside ODOT mailbox. Until then, I'm Aaron Kelber. Safe travels, everyone.